What's up, everybody? Come on in the building as you're coming in. Bring somebody with you. We're getting ready to get started tonight. Welcome in to all of our social media family. We are live everywhere tonight. I mean, like everywhere. And the crew is in the building. My honored co-host Taylor Made Speaks is back in the saddle.
Literally.
Literally. Last week we was turned up. We got Troublemaker Claiborne in the building, aka Pretty Eyes. We got Lady Victoria in the building with us again this week, and Claiborne got us with everything right and popping this week, so we're gonna be good. We're gonna be good. Noise reduction and everything. And then we got Jason Thibodeau, actor extraordinaire. You guys have got to check Jason out. He is on film every doggone place. Look, I was watching something on Tubi. I was like, is it? I said, oh my God, that's Jason. And it's so funny because, I've been knowing Jason like 13 years. So now when I see him on film, I'll be like, man, that's Jason. That's really dope. This is really, really dope. So super excited to have everybody back in the saddle. Listen, last week we were talking about relationships, dating after divorce, incorporating these children, and what's going to happen with the children when said person, or if said person decides that, hey, they don't want to be said person anymore. And so we started talking about the conversation. We had a couple of technical difficulties, which prohibited Lady Victoria from like really, really breaking into the dialogue. So she's going to be tapping into this discussion, and we're going to rock and roll tonight and have this dialogue. It's going to be really hot and dope. We had some passion in the building last week. We had the Black Panther here, which was Claiborne. He was representing for Black Panthers, heading into Black History Month. And we was popping off and had a phenomenal conversation. So we get ready to get this party cracking. Lady Victoria is going to spearhead the conversation tonight, Taylor. So we're gonna let her, she gonna run the train tonight, Taylor. We're gonna see how she popping off and what she got going on with us tonight. See what we learned from Lady Victoria about this dating after divorce and the children's situation. As you guys are coming in, and our panelists will be going ahead and sharing the segment from my page to their community so everybody can come on in and participate in the conversation. We had a beautiful audience on last week, and we want to get everybody plugged in and engaged, and we're going to get this party rocking. We're going all in tonight. So, Lady Victoria, we're going to yield over to you. What's the deal? What's the deal? You started this fire. What's up?
It's been hot. I'm telling you, last week was hot. Ah, man, it's been a good subject. Yes, hot. I mean, you needed a fan, you needed air conditioning. It was all of that.
Period.
And then some. But we've covered a lot of information um, doing this series talking about dating after divorce. Some of the things that we talked about real quick was don't rush in after you have gotten out of your divorce. Don't rush in quickly into another relationship right away. Take your time. Allow yourself a chance and time to heal. Sometimes people rush in and they say they healed, but they're not really whole. Y'all can marinate on that one just a little bit. Heal, but not whole. Wait until your divorce is final before you start dating. Consider your children. The do's and don'ts for your children's sake is very, very importante. Muy importante. Shared parenting is a very common thing on today. And so, as grown-ups, we want to be nice to each other. We want to be cordial, even though you might be burning up on the inside and waiting to say things and behave in manners that's unbecoming to you as a gentleman or as a lady. Contain yourself for the sake of your children. How involved should your children be in the divorce? They should be very involved because everything behind the divorce is going to affect them. So this week I wanted to talk about these parents that dated each other, fell in love, got married, created a family, and they were just very much in love with one another, and now they hate each other's guts. So much so until they find that they can't contain themselves in conversation when it comes to the other parent. One of the worst things I believe that parents can do is to begin to take it out on the child. or on the children. Now, the children are going to react as children do because this is a devastating thing that has happened in their lives. And it doesn't matter, I don't think, if your children are young, if they're middle age, if they are teenagers, and even if they are adults, they are oftentimes affected by the separation of their parents. But parents that begin to deflect their feelings to their child, this was presence. I can't like your daddy, or you're loose just like your mama. You start calling them names, and but you're deflecting how you feel about that absent parent onto your child, not knowing perhaps and not realizing what you're dumping onto your child could then take years and years of therapy for them to get over it. It's never the child's fault. It's not their fault that they look just like their father or that they look
Therapy
just like their
for them to
mother.
get over
You
it.
sound just like her. Every time you open your mouth, you just sound just like her. You need to be quiet. Don't talk. Don't say anything. Look at you, looking just like him or her. Why do parents do that? What are you gaining by speaking that way about the other parent? And what are you dumping onto your own child? Are you thinking about how your child feels about this? Claiborne talked last week about his daughter that said, where he said that his daughter said, should I hate half of myself? Are you asking me to dislike half of myself? Same. Same thing when parents, adults begin to have these kinds of conversations and make these kinds of remarks about the other parent. So I think I'm going to start with Jason. Jason, and ask you, what are your thoughts concerning that?
Regarding the kids.
Yes.
Well, for one, I agree with you. As you're going through the divorce, you definitely need to include the kids in that. As you get back out there and start dating, talk to the kid. I would not recommend introducing them to your new partner, if you will, until that actually becomes a real relationship. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that just going to cause confusion. It could cause anger, sadness. It could actually be very bad for the kid from that standpoint. Like I said, I would definitely recommend including the kid when you are going through the divorce with both parents. After the divorce, talk to the kid. I mean, you can let them know that you started dating again, but I wouldn't go much past that. You know what I mean? Because that could actually create a bigger problem, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, what about the name calling?
Now,
When
that part,
parents start name calling for the other parent?
well, for one, if you're going to have something negative to say about the other parent, I would definitely say keep it to yourself and away from the kid. Um, if you have to get it, if it was not an amicable breakup and there is tension there, then whenever you're talking to your ex-spouse, I would definitely recommend not being around the kid as best as possible. Try
Mm-hmm.
not to name call. I know that can be hard sometimes, but I mean, I don't recommend it. It would definitely cause some issues, and I definitely wouldn't try to force the kid to call your new dating partner if y'all do just so happen to let your kid meet them any names as well, other than Mr. or Mrs. You know, whatever their actual last
Mm-hmm.
name is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree with that. And I think you brought up a valid point about the new partner not calling them by their name. I think that there is a level of respect that goes along with that. Call them, like you said, Mr. or Mrs. Now,
Correct.
sometimes the other adult might say, oh, it's okay if you call me by my first name. It's okay if you call me Victoria. No, train your child to stay within the boundaries of what is correct behavior. And especially when they're young, when they're really young. So I don't recommend that as well. I think it begins to create perhaps a commonality that perhaps might not be good ground for them to start with. with a new partner, a new person in the picture, right? Taylor May, we missed you on last week. So I would love for you to chime in your thoughts, sir.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go on the other side of the fence with this. I think that I think when it comes to name calling, yeah, it's wrong, right? It's just etiquette and it's respect. I mean, would you why would you name call? I know we say it out of anger, and sometimes emotion is flying and the person just pisses you off. But you still got to show that respect for that child, because you want the child to respect the father and the mother, right? Because then when the breakup happens and you're saying these negative things or these horrible things to one of the parent, then that child might not want to go to the other parent. It's just a whole um, what is this windfall when it comes to stuff like that. And so when it comes to dating, I see a different perspective. I think that the child should be involved in the beginning. I think that
Yes.
kids are not hidden from what's going on. Like we see it on TV. You're giving your child your phone to watch YouTube videos and what have you. That was getting taught, right? That child knows. No, sometimes we as parents we try to protect our kids, um, which does damage. And the reason why I say that is because, usually when I'm talking to individual and women are getting back out there in a dating scene after from a marriage or a serious relationship, um, I think it's sooner than later. I think what happens is we exclude the child from the dating process so they don't experience the hurt. They don't experience getting stand up, getting ghosted, all these things that has happened to some of us. But they see the relationship product, right? But they don't see the product before. So they're entering into life only seeing the relationship product and not that product before. So some of these kids don't even know how to date. All they know is that I'm just going to jump into this relationship with an individual because that's what they've been taught. So that's just my perspective on those points.
Well, I think a good point made in what you said about them only knowing one side of it. They don't know how to date. They don't know how to be emotionally available. They don't even know how to prepare for that because if they have not seen that modeled, then they are going to follow the template that's been shown them for however many years when they get to that age where they want to start dating. And actually, I think that it impacts them personally because they don't know how to share themselves. They don't know how to share a portion of themselves or reserve a portion of themselves when you need to do so. In a relationship, you want to spend time with the person that you care about and all of that, but you also need to be able to know when it's time for you to take time for you. And sometimes these children are being raised up not knowing the importance of these matters, not knowing the importance of self-preservation for their own selves, let alone sharing with someone else, with a partner. So then that creates a whole dynamic in the relationship that can cause it to be toxic from the very beginning. So you have all of that on top of everything that they experienced as a child. That makes for a person that's going to need more than likely a lot of therapy and a lot of counseling. So I think we have to be careful about that. So I'm going to segue over to Koffe for your thoughts.
Well,
Can
well,
I
well,
can, I-
well.
can I make can Chloe can Troublemaker go first?
He can. I think he's ready too.
Yeah, I'm like because his whole face contorted. Let Troublemaker go first.
Go
Well,
ahead,
you
Claymore.
know, I don't know if it's contour. It's just that, listen, a lot of areas that we miss, Taylor, man, it's good to see you, my brother, man. A lot of things that we miss when it comes to children. We got to be able to respect children's feelings while making adult
Mm-hmm.
decisions. What do you mean by that? First thing, we need to sit down with the children before the divorce happened, and let them know this don't got nothing to do with you because they're not mature enough to understand all the process based on age, to understand the processes that they are dealing with when it comes to the divorce. Why is mommy and daddy getting divorced? What happened? And sometimes they will internalize it as if it had something to do with them, especially if they hear you in the room and said that I wouldn't have married you if you wasn't pregnant. Then that child now has to say, am I the reason for the divorce? While you may not have meant that,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't know how to process that was an anger moment versus the truth. Now, Koffe, it might have been the truth. It might have absolutely been the truth, but then the child has to know that both parents love them. So I think that it's hard, Jason, to put them in before the divorce happens, because if the divorce is not amicable, if you all are at each other's throat, then it's hard to bring that part in. But you also got to prepare now that if you do not do that, what you're going to deal with is the results or the consequences of that later. What is the results and the consequences? Now the child becomes a pawn. Now the child is in between two divorced people. Do I like my mama house better than my daddy house? Now the child, Taylor, become a double agent. The child become a double agent because now you over there talking about
Mm-hmm.
who your mama with, who your daddy with, who was over the house. Now, Koffe, I see it
Mm-hmm.
all the time. They make the child a double agent. I remember, and we were not married, but I remember my children's mothers, what she would be drilling them, like that she would be interrogating them, what was going on in my life, where I was at, what was happening, who was around, and to the point they was like, Dad, like she is like asking all of these questions, and what did we do, and where did we go, and what did we eat, and what restaurant we, and all of this stuff, and your children become a double agent. Now they were not a double agent on my side, because I could care less what you're doing. I could care less where you go. As long as my kids don't come back bruised or hurt or broken, where you going and who you with and who's at your house don't mean nothing to me, but that's not always the case. So now you put children in this. So you have affected these children's lives. You've affected what's going on in these children's life. And so I 100% agree. I also agree that you should have conversation going back out. And when I mean going back out, before you get that man, before you get that woman, by
Mm-hmm.
saying this, I'm not going to be single forever. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen today. I don't know if it's going to happen tomorrow, but it is going to happen. And so I need to prepare you for that. They don't come in here and take the place of your mama or your daddy, wherever the situation is, but I am going to do that. And I think that when you kind of, that's one of the things I always say, she's a little hard, but I love the way Koffe handles things. She is straightforward. She tell her kids from the door, this the way this gonna be. But I think because of that, they understand, okay, my mom, she ain't pulling no punches. This the way my life is gonna be. This my life. But I think sometimes we need to do that, because what we will run into, if you bring somebody in who you have not talked about is coming, what will happen is your kids will clown.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they think that you crazy, then they may
Mm-hmm.
not clown. But your kids will act up to that person because they're not prepared for that situation. So I think that you got to bring your kids in every step of the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like a lot of what I hear is communication is key in these relationships, going and coming. Prior to the divorce, if you know that you had it that way, during the process of the divorce, and then after the divorce, and then also when you begin to date again, communication is key. So, are we doing our children a disservice by not communicating with them properly? Are we again setting them up for another layer of failure in a critical part of their of their lives, relationships? And this is not just in dating relationships, but relationships with your coworkers. As a college student, relationship with your classmates, with your professors, your instructors. If you don't know how to communicate effectively and be able to say what it is that you are feeling with ease, sometimes even when it's uncomfortable, what are we doing to our children? Are we really disservicing them by not teaching them these things? Are we more self-centered on ourselves of what's going on in my life and in my heart right now? So it's not about you, child. It is all about me. So I'm trying to get me together and you can wait. Is that the message that we're sending to our children today? Koffe, you ready?
Listen, I'm putting my educator hat on.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm putting on my educator hat. I deal with high schoolers and middle schoolers, all the time. When it comes to that first in the interaction, I call it the BS time frame. I'm not gonna say it on here, but I call it the BS time frame when everything's all jolly, jolly, kiki, all that crap, right? That fluff, boy meets girl, girl's cute, guy's handsome, and everything they caking and da 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 da. And then we shift into kind of settling into this little routine we got. Then, our real life starts to show up, whatever our real life looks like, and so on and so forth. When it comes to adults and we building out these relationships, just from an educator standpoint, and listening to my students habitually talking about their mama got a new man, their daddy got a new woman. Next week they're gonna have somebody else, Miss Brown. I don't even get. I'm used to now every other week somebody else running up, and I had one girl go so far as to tell me, I just closed my door with her man here, and she closed her door with my man here. I said, huh? She said, yeah, that she just closed. And I said, let me go in my classroom and kind of I'm trying to ingest all of this. So you telling me that your mama man is in the room across the hall from y'all, and you okay. I will say this. This is my perception. I feel that when it comes to adults and when it comes to children, a child is just that. They're a child. Them having to cope with their adult parents, dating behaviors and practices, and that and deal running in and out and all that. I think that's very toxic and extremely unhealthy. The only reason why my children are stable and they okay is because it was one man around them for the entire time that they grew up. Did I date multiple people? Absolutely. But was they coming to my personal abode? That's a strong hell no.
Right.
Hell no. You have to earn that space. You have to earn the ability to be in the personal space around the children because the children, they're royalty. They're young princes and princesses. And the royal children don't need to be exposed to peasants on the way to another royal. So I did not expose my children to just any guy or no, hell no, because they were more valuable to me. Because at the end of the day, when old boy roll out, they gonna still be here, and I don't need them to have to pick up puzzle pieces from a puzzle that they're not gonna be a part of. For real, for real. So I have a strong sense of separation when it comes to relational stuff. And I coach people. I coach men more than I coach women. And I tell them all the time, you got to remember, you say that your children are royal. We say, oh, they're a prince, they're a princess, and da, 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 da. If they're really a prince and a princess, it's a certain way you treat a prince and a princess. You don't just treat them the way you treat some peasant off on the street. This is a part of your legacy, historically, what's going to present in your future. All of that stuff is going to manifest later on. So I think it's extremely unhealthy to have multiple human beings around your children while you're identifying a person of value and substance. Now, how do you know a person of value and substance? Because you're valuable and you're of substance. And of course, again, you're going to run into people along the way that are not on that level. So you got to dismiss, run in, dismiss, run in, dismiss, run in, dismiss. that's a part of the dating process, because people look at people from their physicality. Oh, Koffe got a nice, ooh, Taylor got, ooh, Taylor, ooh, that smile, honey. Ooh, look at them pretty eyes on Claiborne, honey. Ooh, physicality is where it all starts. Let's just keep it a buck. So you see somebody, you see that physical change, the physicality, everybody attractive initially until you start digging and you identify that they're not so attractive after all. They might look aesthetically okay, but internally they cuckoo for Cocoa Pops. And you want to be careful because
Right.
if that person has some issues, like for real, they know your address now. Now you're putting everybody at risk. No, that's a strong hell no. Now, if you're, it's just, to me, this is just me. I'm talking about from a coaching perspective and an educator perspective. I have seen it. I have seen students go through all kind of crazy suffrage because they mama had this crazy, I almost cuss, individual who came by their house at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, you tell your mama to come to the door. What? I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I want you to roll up in my house. You might not want to roll on my block. It wouldn't be a good decision for you, son of man. It's not going to be a good choice. But that's because I have made a conscientious choice to preserve my children from adult situations. Did I teach them how to date? Absolutely. Did I teach them the appropriate way to connect with another human being? Absolutely. It's up to us to teach our children. They don't have to experience it for us to teach them. They don't have to go through this for us to teach them. We're supposed to be the people that are pointing them in the right direction in life. They don't have to experience everything. I would hate to have had experience everything in order to get where I am today. That wouldn't be cool. That would be very painful, and it would be torture if I have to experience everything in order to learn a lesson in life. I told a student today, I saw them tussling, two males, as I was coming in to take care of something at one of the campuses that I frequent to add to the district. And I said, hey, get your hands off of him, son. Y'all go to class. This is where it starts. You tussling, but he's not happy about the tussle. Get your hands off of him and go to class. Yes, ma'am. I don't get a bunch of flack from those children. You know why? Because I come in there and I talk to them a way in which they're able to receive it. Now, if I was one of those people that every time they saw me, I was in one of the teachers' faces and, Kiki Ken with all the men on campus and all that, they'd be like, oh, Miss Brown a little hot. And I'm telling you, they talk about us the way we talk about them every day, all day. So I just think it's very important for us to decide to be adults. Let them grow up and let them be babies. Let them be babies for as long as they can be without all of those extra exposures. They don't get enough exposure, I promise you. They get a whole lot of exposure. But their home should be this safe place where they dwell and they can lay their head safely resting at night. Like I told Taylor not long ago, me and my the guy that I dated throughout my children's teen years, because I wasn't remarrying nobody. Bump that. While I was raising them. But he and I had a great relationship. We had a great agreement. We were on the same sheet of music. We had the same belief system. And we moved very well together throughout their journey and his children's journey as well. We had a great thing going in that particular season. And we understood boundaries.
Yes.
Boundaries were in place. And to this day, my children and him, they still real close, very, very close. And he don't say nothing to me. I don't say nothing to him because we're no longer together in a relationship. But because of how it was built, how we forged that partnership, the respect level that was there, the healthy boundaries that were in place, they saw us go at it sometime. They saw it. But they understood that was our relationship and it didn't have nothing to do with them. When we decided to go our separate ways, they already knew it was coming, like what Claiborne was saying. We literally told them, hey, listen, our relationship has run its course. Like literally, we have found that this is it for us. We're not wed. So we're going to cut this part off. The friendship is intact. And the children are just fine. And that's what's important. Adults have to be adults. And let them babies be babies. As long as they can be babies, honey, because I promise you, once you get grown, that's it. You don't need to be a baby for a minute. And we want to make sure we preserve them as much as possible. How was I successfully able to get my children through high school as virgins? How was I able to do that? Because of the consistent stability. It was no inconsistencies in that space. And that you have to be so careful. I'm telling you, I got some friends now, Lady Victoria, they still traumatized from all the people running up and down in their house when they were tiny humans. It's not healthy. That's just me.
Yes.
And an educator. It's not healthy to have them so involved in dating stuff. It's just not. It's dangerous, to be quite frank with you.
Mm-hmm.
Have them around somebody that's been vetted, that's been in your life for a substantial, healthy amount of time. Vet these people so you can sort through the foolery and you can preserve your seed. It's important. That's just my thoughts.
I would say this. If you're a parent, tiny humans, little humans, if you will, if you haven't figured it out by now, they're going to do what they see you do. They're not going to necessarily do what you say.
Correct.
So if you're running people in and out that house, they're going to automatically think they should be running people in and out that house. And if you're running people in and out that house and you're getting real cool with people, at some start trying to treat your kid more as an equal, and they're going to see themselves as an equal. So like what you heard Koffe say when she was talking about one of her students has her boyfriend, I think I heard, come over, and mama's boyfriend come over, and they all in their rooms trying to do adult stuff. And if mama's cool with that or daddy's cool with that, and you're going to have some problems as that person gets older and older. You know what I'm saying? So watch what it is that you're doing around your kids. Watch how you.
And Jason, while you on that vein, you want to be able to still parent them.
Absolutely.
That's where this problem is coming in, with all this dilemma with parents and children.
Absolutely.
I can't parent you if I'm doing what we doing all the same things.
Correct.
Period. I mean, me and old boy was together for years. We didn't ever spend the night over here. What? No, ma'am. Negative Nancy.
And don't try to put your foot down when you standing chest to chest with this kid and they feel like they're an adult with you. So when your little 10, 13 or whatever 15-year-old is standing chest to chest with you, challenging you, then that ain't the time to try to act parenting, because they've already seen how you move. And what they're doing is mimicking what it is that you do.
Right. Look, Yasmin told one of her friends the other day, she said, my mama and said person was together all them years, and I never woke up with him there. She said, I never woke up and he was in my mama's room and all that. She said, no. She told her, she said, my mother is very discreet. She's extremely discreet. And it wasn't because of my children. It's because of who I am. It's because of how my mama raised me. My mother said, you a lady, be a lady. And that's what my mother taught me. My mother was like, you're a lady, be that, period.
Right.
Hey,
it's important that our children have a good image. Go ahead, Taylor. Go ahead.
I think that let me just I just want to clear the air for me. I think that we're going into like some other areas that I have not spoken to. I said the dating process, going in and out of each other's homes and tricking and side chicks and all that stuff. I don't condone that to be around a child. I'm not speaking about that conversation. I'm talking about the dating process. When you meet somebody, the child should be involved. We have the child involved in the divorce process, which is a trauma. That is traumatic. Divorce is considered a traumatic event that happens in your life. We put our kids in that. But when it comes to something great, something positive, something meeting a nice individual, to show them, hey, this person is going to pick me up. This is who this person is in case I don't come back. because we forget.
Mhm.
Like we exclude all of that process from our children, whether they're little kids, because we're not. No one said age, so they could be 30 years old. Let's just call it what it is.
No, we're not talking about
Mhm.
adult. We're not
Mhm.
talking about full-blown adult
So
children. We're not talking about that. We're talking about minor children
yeah,
that we're responsible and accountable for.
yeah. So if you're saying a 6-year-old, a 6 year,
Mhm.
I mean, what kind of conversation you gonna have with a 6-year-old? To the extent that, hey, I'm gonna meet this guy, and we're gonna go out here and eat, and then we're gonna sit and talk about family life. No, but I
Too
for
much.
me, um, when I'm talking to women that are going back out there in the dating world, and experience that that person that you deem that's a good person that you have talked to, that you have vetted, to meet that child sooner than later is better, because
I agree. I agree with that.
what have been happening
I
is
agree. Yeah.
6 months you're having intimacy with this person, your child don't know this individual because you have kind of shield, and then when that child do meet and that child doesn't get along with that individual, now you're having problems. Now you got to moonwalk out of that situation. But as far as running in each other's house and sleeping over and all that stuff, I'm not condoning none of that stuff.
Now, I will say this, Taylor, and I love you brought that up. I would suggest
Okay.
in that initial exchange of energy that it's on neutral grounds, not at your personal home or not at their personal
Yes.
home.
Absolutely.
It's been easier for people to blend relationally in neutral ground where it's beneficial to that child in that moment because you're infusing them into this experience
Mhm.
and it's all wonderful. So let's
Mhm.
go to main event or let's go to Chuck E. Cheese or whatever the case might be to be able to
Mhm.
connect so you can meet said person, and whatever. So y'all can let's see how it feels to be around said person or whatever. Well, do I have to like
Mhm.
him?
Mhm.
Nope, not in the least bit. However, it's imperative
Mm-mm.
because I like him that you get an opportunity to meet said person. And I'm not going to adjust my life because my child don't like said person. They going to be all right. God bless you, baby. Because
Mhm.
you ain't got to be,
Mhm.
you not going to be me. And I'm listen here. I don't,
Mhm.
now, if there's
Mhm.
something where it's continually something nudging at my child, and that happened to my children with one particular person, and it was like all three of them, Taylor, and that's very unusual for all three of the children to be like, I don't like old boy. Now that's something ain't right. If all one of them, that's normal. Maybe two. But for all the children not to like old
Mhm.
boy and they stick to it,
Mhm.
something
Mhm.
ain't right. Usually,
Right.
and
Right.
children are very intuitive. They're very intuitive. They're real smart. And my
Right.
son finally said, he
True. True.
said,
True.
he like you, mama, but I don't like him. And my son doesn't say that. He stays, you know, he don't get involved in that. But he
Right.
said, Mom, something is wrong with this guy. I do not like him. And come to
Mhm.
find out later on,
Mhm.
Taylor, down the line, it was something very seriously wrong with that guy.
Mhm. And see, that's when we as parents have to be intuitive with our children to what they're
And
telling
trust their
us. Like you
judgment and
said, there are
trust them.
times, yes, because children will speak up. I mean, young children, 3 years old, they will speak up. Children that don't have a lot of language, they even have ways of letting you know this person makes me feel uncomfortable. There's something about this person. So we have to pay attention to that and not be so caught up in our own feelings as parents that we're putting that person before our children, before the well being, mental and emotional well being of our children. And children don't forget. They might be young, but they don't forget. And as they get older, then sometimes those thoughts, those memories come back, something triggers it. And then they want to come, Mom, I need to talk to you. I remember when I was about 4 years old and such and such and such and such and such and such. And you're wondering, oh my gosh, where'd that come from? How did they remember that? You know, I had a person that I knew that was full grown adult, married, had a family, and all of that. And all of a sudden, I started having triggering memories of things his mom did when he was a little boy And he said, oh my gosh, that's what she was doing. Oh my goodness, that's what that was about. This was 30, 40 years later that this gentleman was able to reach back and get those memories of things that his mom did. She thought she was covering it up, but she wasn't covering it up because he remembered. He remembered being made last and the men were made first. He remembers that. So we have to be very careful and realize our children, that's our most precious possession that we have. And we are responsible for not just nurturing them, not just telling them what they can do and what they can't do, where they can go and where they can't go. We're responsible for much more than that. We are shaping the future with our children. That's what we're doing. We're role models for them always, good, bad, or ugly, because our lives aren't always perfect. As parents, I've made some mistakes. As a parent, I have made some mistakes with my children when they were young, when they were middle, and when they got to be older. We all make mistakes. We make errors. But I learned for me, when I made a mistake, I learned how to go to my child and apologize. So, I didn't handle that as well as I should have. I'm sorry for the way I spoke to you. I did not mean to demean you or degrade you or make you feel unloved or unappreciated. You are an integral, critical part of my life. And I never want to do or say anything that's going to hurt or harm you. I wasn't so grown that I was mama. I'm mom. I don't need to apologize to her. I don't need to say that to him. Yes, I did need to say that. Yes, I did need to apologize for the emotional health of my child. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very intuitive. We have to remember that even as they're growing up, that we're still responsible for them. We don't just, raise them up and push them out into the world and say, go live your life. We're talking about dating relationships and do's and don'ts, but in other parts of their lives, we show them, we tell them how to save money. We tell them, you need to go to college or you need to go to the Marine Corps, the armed forces, or wherever it is that they're going to be able to better their lives. We're still helping them to navigate life. Even as they are becoming young adults, they still come to us for advice. They still come to us to find their vision or find their purpose in life. And we're there to help them do that. We're supposed to be good stewards over our children as well. It's critically important for them. Critically important for them. So, there is so much more, so much more that I can say. We have a lot of good comments here also. I was trying to find one. Lisa Mallory said, you can't let them use you as an excuse for them being too grown either. Someone else says, Carolyn says, they have discernment. Whoo! Yes, they do. Our children do have discernment. They see and hear things, and we think that they're not putting it all together, but oftentimes they are. And we don't want those things to come back and bite us as adults. And if they do, then as the parent, as the adult, handle them appropriately. Don't get angry and then still tell them, well, you need to remain in a child's place. Well, you should have thought about that when you were doing all you were doing right in front of them. So we have to be mindful of these things. We have to be mindful of these things. And if they come back to you later and have questions, again, address them. Don't try to sweep it under the rug and make it seem like it didn't happen. If they come back and say, well, Mom, you had a lot of boyfriends, or Dad, you had a lot of girlfriends growing up. What was going on with you? Answer them. It's not the worst thing in the world to be able to allow your children to see that you too have flaws.
Hey, Lady Victoria, while you're on that vein, I want to interject real quick.
Sure.
With Taylor being the person that deals with people exiting toxic relationships, Taylor, what has been your experience with that aspect of coaching where you had somebody who had habitual partners in the presence of their children? How were you able to really kind of support them in their exit of the toxic relationship and kind of help them to redirect that behavior? Because that's really dangerous to have a lot of different partners in front of your children over a course of time.
Yeah, it's one of those where you gotta kind of figure out what's the urge for them to do that, right? And the thing is, it has nothing to do with the child, to be honest. And what I mean by that is, they could care less if their child is present or not, right? It's an urge of being with multiple different people, right? It's some people get a high off of that, right? Some people are addicted. That's why you see people never enter into a relationship. They start talking and they get very excited and it's fresh, and as soon as that time comes to enter in a relationship, they're gone to somebody else and they start that process over, right? And so or some people just don't like to be alone, so you have to find out I usually have to find out from their situation what is the addiction to this multiple partner syndrome that's going on, and then have to tackle it from that angle. Whether the child is there or not, they're going to do it anyway. It's almost like I said, it's like an addiction. For some, it can be childhood trauma where they've seen their parents have this repetitive behavior, but you just have to figure out what that angle come from, and then deal with that. And then that behavior would change so they can grow their child up in the right way. But that's what I have encountered through my process with that. But what I noticed, like I said, whether that child is present or not, because the thing is, they're not hiding it from the child. If they were hiding it from the child, then they would have some sense of not maybe embarrassment, maybe they're trying to protect their child not to be like me, but those things are completely disregarded because they're doing it in open form. So at that point, whether the child is there, like I said, or not, it's irrelevant to them. And so we have to attack it from a different angle.
Claiborne, same question.
Get this. What is your reasoning for multiples? I understand date them all. I'm not sure if I am agree on that. Once we have children in our life, dating them all should not be something that children have to see. I love what Taylor said. I love what you said, Koffe. It's not something children should have to deal with you dating them all. Because then it says, what are you putting yourself out there? Like you said, you have multiples, but your kids can never say, my mom was wild out there. Because it's who you bring around. It's the timing you bring around. It is when you bring around. And I don't think that you have to bring everybody around. I think that toxic situations can be real bad. It's bad, Taylor, how you handle it. It's worse when your mind is not formed and mature. So now you handle it a whole lot different. Plus, you don't know how people gonna handle your kids. I know people who their boyfriend killed their kids. their girlfriend beat their door. We know situations like that where they brought a toxic person in their relationship. And I know we don't like to talk about this, but this is a reality. Taylor, you probably know way more than me because you deal with that. But there have been cases where they brought a toxic person amongst their kids, and their kids are not here because of that. So you gotta understand how your job, and I think lady said it earlier. Your job is to protect your kids at all costs, emotionally, mentally, physically. Your job is to protect your kids at all costs. What do I got to do? And so I know that my children, and I said this last week, every child is different. So you got to know which children that you're handling with, which children that you're sharing with. You've got to be very, very careful. I am very careful when it comes to protecting my kids, because in the end, God is going to charge me for my good steward or my lack thereof of my children.
That's good. That's very good. Jason, I know Jason has done some coaching. Same question for you, Jason. Jason's done some coaching,
Yes.
especially for from a man to man, and in the school and everything else. So, Jason, same question.
Repeat the question for me. I want to make sure I'm answering it correctly.
So basically, a person that has these habitual partners, and they constantly running somebody up in the crib, in the presence of the children. What is it? What are some things that you would say to that individual to kind of help them to kind of get their eyes open and kind of get a little clarity about what they could possibly be doing to cause damage to their children long term? What would be some things that you would recommend or kind of connect with them on?
Well, okay, so I used to mentor high school boys, typically between like 15 and 18, right? And from the kid perspective, when they would see this kind of stuff, because quite a few of those young men came from a single parent home. Most of the time, it was a single parent being the mother. And of course, some of the moms you would see, they're kind of out there, in terms of dating. I'm not saying like they're out there hoeing or whatever else, but they're out there in the dating market. And you got to understand that, especially when you have, and this would happen vice versa, if it's a dad that's out there and has a daughter, a lot of times that son became almost like the mom's playboy friend and kind of the man of the house. And if you're dating multiple people and these people are coming by the house, you're going to create a tension, and you're going to cause that young man to challenge some of the decisions that not only you're making, but also start challenging individuals that are coming by, right? So, and like I said, that's vice versa with men that have daughters that they are raising. Because I had a coworker who recently went through that, where she was dating this this gentleman. She's around our age. She's dating this gentleman who's also around our age, had grown kids, daughters, if you will. Mom passed away a long time ago. And they ended up having to break up because basically he made plans with her for Christmas. The daughters came home and decided, no, you need to spend time with us. And basically left her out there. So that's what happens when you don't take care of the kids from a disciplinary standpoint, as well as managing expectations when they're younger and you're in the dating field. They end up becoming older, and then all of a sudden now they're pushing people out of your life. Now, granted, those daughters went back to wherever the hell they came from, school or whatever it was they was doing. Now this dude is at the house trying to call her after he's pretty much dissolved that relationship because he chose the daughters, which are grown, over this young lady who has been there for him for a few months. Now, also, what I've talked to some of the moms before as well. And I was like, hey, look, I can't tell you how to run your household. I don't even want to try to tell you how to run your household. But your son probably is not speaking to you about certain feelings. I've been in this position before because I've had friends who had parents that were single and dating. and would bring the opposite sex around them all the time. And it's, I'd have to pull a couple of those moms to the side and be like, hey, just FYI, be careful who you're bringing around him, because he's noticing that you've brought several different men around and everything else, and you're just expecting him to stay in his place. Not going to happen, especially with him being a teenager, right? And like I said, everything I'm saying, you can apply just the opposite direction. And I've had to talk to that mom and be like, look, I'm just letting you know that your son notices. And your son is saying some things that lets us know that he's noticing and that it's affecting him. Right? So it's not necessarily the young man like just acting out so much or whatever, but you can have conversations with people and kind of tell what's going on in their households. And you would start to notice, okay, so mom has had several boyfriends in the last several months and everything else. And now you're walking around here kind of attitudey, and now you're starting to challenge other guys as well, right? Your own peers, etc. And as a parent, it's easy to get caught up in these other relationships and forget about the child's feelings. The same way it's easy to go through a divorce, and at some point you're so worried about your feelings and how you feel about that dissolved relationship, to where you don't consider that that kid has feelings as well towards whatever it is that just happened. That goes the same for when you're dating. And I've had to talk to a couple dads as well and be like, hey, dude, I understand you trying to be the man's man, and you got a son, and you trying to let your son know that you out here, and you slashing them. Hey, you cutting them down. You cutting down all those trees. What do you think your son is going to end up doing as well? When your son is a teenager and he's sneaking out the house, or he keeps trying to bring these little girls around you and everything else, you telling him to focus on his books, he's going to do what you're doing, because you're not focusing on your household. You're focusing on yourself. So now he thinks that he needs to focus on himself from a physical standpoint, right? So there's a lot of different ways to unpack that. And you need to understand, when there's a child involved, what I said earlier, they're going to do what they see you do. They're not necessarily going to do what they hear you say. So while you're trying to be a parent and you're telling them, hey, mom or dad is out here trying to, kind of get back out in the field and date a little bit, this, that, and the other. If you're not taking care of that household and talking to that kid, and figuring out what it is they're going through emotionally, then you're going to have a problem on your hands.
Lady Victoria.
Very good.
Lady Victoria, I think
Very
Taylor,
good.
I think we're going to keep her back,
Yes.
Taylor. I think we're going to keep her, Taylor. She did good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Wrap
Couldn't have
it
done it
up,
without
Lady
all of you.
Victoria. Look,
Yes.
fantastic
Oh,
conversation.
thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Well, this is a excellent team of panelists, and again, it could not have happened without each one of you. So thank you so very much. I see Dr. Kai is in the room.
Dr. Kai's
Hi,
in the
Dr. Kai.
building.
Yes. Thank you.
We got
All
Lisa.
of you that are.
Yes.
Anitra.
So guys, thank y'all so much for being here this week. We had another powerful conversation. These phenomenal thought leaders, they're all coaches. You can connect with them directly. You saw their information scrolling across the screen throughout the conversation for you to be able to connect with them. They're not being compensated for their time. So definitely connect with them. If you want to add to them in a tangible way, do so. Send them a cash app so they can get some lunch or a cup of coffee, pun intended, or connect with them. Get a session with them. I think some of them do provide maybe a complimentary 15-minute session for you to see if they are a good fit for you and you are a good fit for them. Because we do a lot of vetting when it comes to our coaching clients. We don't coach everybody because we can't coach everybody. Praise God. Hallelujah. So every coach is not for you, and we might be good for you for tonight's show only, and it may not be a good fit for what it is you're attempting to do. So just connect with them, follow all of them. I normally don't even ask people to follow, but I definitely have connected with all of these individuals, know them personally, what they stand for, the value that they add all over the world. So definitely connect with them and get to know them and see if they can add to you. Check out some of their other segments that they have. And they have on social media. I know Claiborne is always on some platform on social media. We're all in Clubhouse, and we're in Clubhouse continually. So you can connect with us on Clubhouse and check us out with the groups that we're a part of in Clubhouse. I will tell you, some of them are ratchet. So be warned. Some are safe places, and some of them we go on uncharted territory to see what's going on over there around the corner, and it's not safe. It's just not safe. So yeah, don't judge us. You know, the Bible said that light have to be everywhere, so we bringing the light to the dark. Okay, all right. We don't misbehave while we in the rooms. However, we got to be in the room. We got to be in there, see what's going on out here in these streets. Okay, there's a lot going on out here in these streets. So we appreciate you guys tapping in and tuning in. We'll be back on next week, and we're working on some things with the panel now. Taylor and I got to connect again this week to kind of chat up some things that we want to do moving forward. And then there's going to be a spinoff show that's going to manifest later this year for you guys to enjoy. You're going to like that show too. And also, I want to thank everybody for calling my mom's name out during this process of her healing, her journey of healing. We were in her face this past weekend, and it was just amazing to see my mom's progression. And she does have a journey ahead of her. So definitely, please keep her in your thoughts and prayers. It is not over yet. She is starting a new course of treatment, and they're working towards getting her back to stability to where she can take care of herself. So she's doing physical therapy, and then she's going to head to another therapy so she can get back to enjoying her life during her healing process. So we're excited about that. So we'll keep you guys posted on mom's progression, and she sends her love and her appreciation and her thanks. She was teary-eyed when she saw all of the comments over the past few weeks and all of the people who are standing with her that she's never seen before. And she was just so excited to know that people care. People still care. And I say, yeah, mom, people care. People care. Absolutely. So keep her in your thoughts and prayers. On next month, my parents will celebrate 50 years of marriage. So definitely keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And I'm excited, crazy excited. I was like, man, you guys are going to have 50 years of marriage, and my mom will be celebrating her 70th year of life this year. So they got some milestones going on between her and my dad, and my dad's doing better. I shared with some people privately. My dad was really, really falling into an ugly state of depression, dealing with everything with my mom. He just felt very helpless and not able to help her. As you can imagine, being with somebody for 50 years, how the toll was on him too. It wasn't just her. And he was struggling for a while, but when I saw him, he was smiling and happy. I said, "Oh, Bishop, praise him." My father is a bishop in the Lord's church, and so he was smiling and he was happy, and it was good to see him on the other side. And I just kept encouraging him. I said, "Hey, listen here, Doc. Listen, you got to get yourself together, Doc. You got to preach till the power fall down." My dad, just to keep him smiling, because I can't imagine what he was going through. It's hard to understand and comprehend. You know what I mean? But thank y'all so much. I appreciate you guys. And listen, we'll be back on next week, back in the saddle again, connecting with each and every one of you. Thank y'all for being a part of the family. If you're looking to do some publishing, if you're looking to do some writing, you need to connect with me. We're getting ready to spearhead a couple more projects for this year, and you want to be a part of those. We get it in around here. We get it in around here. So definitely connect with me if you want to be a part of that. We would love to add you to the DFG Publishing House family. We work very cohesively to help you win. It's not about us. It's about all of us. When you win, we look good. So we want to make sure everybody win. I mean, everybody. All right. So y'all enjoy the balance of your evening. We'll see you again on next week's edition of The Hot Seat. We'll always have some kind of great commentary and content for you guys to enjoy. Grace, peace, and many, many blessings be unto you and your families as we exit tonight. And grab the book. Lady Victoria is one of the writers for this project. Jason, did you write on this project? The teens?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Jason Thibodeau is
Yes.
also, I got so many. We're blessed to have a lot of authors with our publishing family. Jason Thibodeau and Lady Victoria, if you want to snatch a copy of that publication, definitely connect with them. There may be a couple more on my website that are complimentary. I'm going to put this up real quick. We've had several sponsors, and I cannot even name them all, to purchase big bulks of books just to help families to be able to deal with the teens. It's not easy to raise teens, not easy at all. So
Yes.
they have a lot of different people came together and said, "Oh, I'll buy 10 books, I'll buy 15, give them away, help people with their families." So you can go to my website and snatch a copy. It should be a couple more for grabs, for you guys to be able to get complimentary. If you want to grab some for somebody you love, get one for them. Doesn't matter. But it's a great publication. We're getting ready to tap into the second part of the series. If you know somebody that has been instrumental in any kind of success of teens, educators, parents, coaches that have been coaching children, all those different individuals qualify to write in books like this. So check this out. And if you feel that you want to be a contributor to our next project, DM me directly. We do have an extreme vetting process in order to vet writers. So we vet you, boo. Can't just write with us. We vet you to make certain that you're on board with the vision and the mission of what we want to accomplish and leave in the earth, so we can leave our footprint in the earth long after we're gone. All right. Michael Claiborne has several publications in his wheelhouse as well. You guys can connect with him directly to grab those publications that he offers. And I think he's in the middle of working on another project, if I'm not mistaken. Taylor Made has all kind of good stuff that he offers. And he does phenomenal. I'm telling y'all, he is a phenom in his own right. And I'm just so grateful to have him, hanging out with me on the journey, co-hosting with me every week. I'm honored and grateful for him. We connect every single week, just talking about some things upcoming. So definitely, we got a little great thing going here. And so in order to keep it moving, we need your support. You guys can just purchase our content, things like that. And it adds to us and it helps us to keep rolling. It's not free to use this software. None of this stuff free. It costs. Believe me, it costs. So just know and understand that what we do is not free. It costs us. And we want to add to you. So definitely add to us. All right. Grace, peace, and blessings. Y'all have a great balance of the evening, and we'll see you guys next week. Another edition of the Hot Seat. Good night.